Hello everybody, this is Bandor again. So today I'm going to be doing a video that's been requested a bunch of times. It's about using PBR materials and how to create a mirror, a true reflective mirror in Second Life using the new mirror reflection probe and the PBR functionality that just recently came out. It's been out for a while with the Second Life viewer and was in beta for quite a while, but it just came out on Firestorm just last week. And so everybody's all hyped up about it. I've got a couple of products that I've made um, that are using mirrors, and they're selling like crazy. And other people are starting to do stuff with mirrors as well. So it's a complicated thing. It's not so simple to understand, nor is it simple to set up. There's a lot of gotchas and a couple really big gotchas that you've got to be careful of, and very little documentation to speak of on how to do it. But it's not hard. It's not crazy, and there's a couple of different ways to do it. You can even do it without using PBR, just using the normal standard materials if you want to. We're going to do it with PBR because I think it's better to learn the new ways of doing things and do things the right way. So let's do it. So okay, so we're just going to start out with something. We're going to build just a cube. Just drop a cube here, and then I'm going to stretch this bad boy out and make it like a wall. So we're going to do a mirrored wall. So let's get this guy. Let's do it about 3.5 meters long. We'll go up a couple meters here. Let's do about 3 meters high. Let's do bigger than that. Let's get 6 meters. Let's go really big. So 6 meter by 4 meter. And then the width can be whatever I want it to be. Small. Like that. Okay, so this is going to be our mirror. I don't care about the faces back here, so let's just paint them black. So we're going to do select face on this guy. And we'll, holding shift down, click the front face to deselect this face. So now all the other faces are selected, and this one is not. And then we'll go to texture. We're just going to do blend fong, which is the normal old way of doing things. And we'll just set this to black and make this blank. Okay. So now we have black surfaces for those. And this is going to be our mirrored surface. And this one we're going to do with PBR. So go ahead and edit it. Turn on select face. Make sure this is the only face that we have selected by left clicking it. And you can check and see, yep, nothing else is selected. So this is the face. Now we're going to go to texture. We're going to go to PBR. And, well, we don't have a PBR material here, so why don't we make one? So let's do that. Just going to go to sorry. Let's go to inventory, and I'm going to create a new material. And there's my inventory. Inventory takes a while to load these days, so, especially when you have 320,000 things. Go down to materials, which is a new folder for people. If you're not familiar with PBR, then you wouldn't have known about this. This is a new folder that only came around with the PBR, and it's for holding PBR materials. So we're going to create a new thing called a new material. It's going to show up right here, and then we're going to call this mirror. Just call it mirror. All right. And then double click it. That's going to open up the material editor. And so PBR materials differ from blend fong or the old way, in that the old way, if you look, it has three things. It has a diffuse texture, it has a normal map, and a specular map. With blend fong, you get those three. With PBR, there's more maps. There's actually 6 maps, but they've embedded 3 of them in one. So you have the base color map, and that is similar to the diffuse. That's going to be what it looks like, right? Whether it's a cloth material or a wood material or a zigzag pattern, whatever that colored 2D texture image that you want to put, that's what goes into your base color. Metallic roughness is a map that's actually 3 different things. They call it metallic roughness, but it's actually 3. It's ambient occlusion, metallic, and roughness. And each one of those is it's a 3D map made from 2D grayscale images. And the way they do that is it's a color image, so it's RGB. So it has 3 channels: red channel, green channel, blue channel. All they're doing is they put a 2D grayscale image in each one of those 3 different channels, and the Second Life interprets that and says, aha, what's in the red channel? Well, that's my ambient occlusion. What's in the green channel? Well, that's my roughness. What's in the blue channel? That's my metallic. And so white and black and gray mean either an abundance for white of that, or black is an absence of it. So for roughness and metallic, white means an abundance or maximum value for metallic or for roughness, and black means minimum or none for metallic and roughness. And then on the AO, on the ambient occlusion, it's just your shading map. It's the shadow map that we've always been using. You just put that into that channel. You can do that in a program called GLTF Packer, which gives you all of the different components. You can drop in your 2D images in there and pack it up and zip it. It's like zipping it, and then load that into Second Life. Or you can go into Photoshop, take your simple image, and then go to the channels and then put your 3 different images into each of the different channels. Export it as an RGB into a PNG image, bring that in here, and drop it in here into the metallic roughness if you want. For what we're going to be doing something very, very simple. So I just want a white image here. So I actually have a white texture that I use in all my stuff. It's a high resolution white. Why do you need a high resolution white? People tell me all the time, dude, you're an idiot. You should just use 1 pixel for your white. Since it's white, you only really need 1 pixel. It could be a 1x1 image and it'll save you a lot. Well, yeah, then it's going to look like shit. So the way things like shadows are done and lighting and reflection are done in Second Life, the resolution of the image affects that. And so if you have a really, really low resolution, even if it's just white, it's not going to look as good for things like shadows and reflections and stuff. So that's why I created it. And I used it in my specular on my Blend Fong, and I've just kept it around since then. So I don't care. I just use it. So I just take my white and I drag it into the base color. And so now it's going to be white. It's not applied yet because I haven't put the material on here yet, but that would be just a simple white image would be what that is, okay? But now let's go ahead and set up the rest of these. Well, I'm not going to use a normal because I don't want it to have any bumpiness, because I want my mirror to be perfectly smooth so that there's no distortion, so that it's going to be really, really highly polished and reflective. So I don't need a normal because a normal provides bumpiness. I'm also not going to use an emissive because I don't need any kind of glow or lighting effect to happen on this. That's what emissive is about. It like emits light. I don't need that for a mirror, so we're not going to put anything in the mirror in the emissive. And then on metallic roughness, I don't have a map for it. I don't need a map for it, but I'm going to use the settings here. So I want it to be completely metallic, and I want it to be no roughness. So I want no roughness. 0 roughness means highly polished. I try to explain this to people. It's kind of the reverse logic. So when you look at what a roughness is, roughness means 0 meaning black, white, 1 meaning white. So if your surface is really rough, it doesn't reflect well because it's really rough. So if you want it to be highly reflective, you need it to be really smooth or polished. And so no roughness means very polished. So think of it that way. No roughness means highly polished, and a highly polished surface is reflective. Okay, so I want 0 in there, and then just save it. So you got white here, 1 there, 0 there, save it. Okay, now we've created a material. So let's go back to our materials. And not objects. There it is. There's my mirror material. So now just take it and drag it on this face. And it's... Okay. So that's what it looks like when you have a PBR material that is white, totally metallic, with no roughness. That's what you get by default. You get this. And it already has a reflection to it that's very highly reflective. So you can see the room in here, and it looks pretty cool, right? Now, but it's not a mirror. Now, some things will reflect more than others, and so you can play with that and make it look pretty cool, but that's not going to get you a mirror. So how do you get a mirror? Well, you need a thing called a reflection probe. And a reflection probe, it comes from the gaming industry, 3D modeling industry. And it's basically changes the way lighting works locally. So you can have your environmental lighting, you can have all that, but if you want to change the lighting and the reflections of lighting within a given space, you can create a reflection probe, and it changes the way light bounces off of things in that space. So it defines the amount of light, or where the light is, what the light source is that's reflecting off of a surface. So for example, right now, I have a reflection probe that it comes with the sim. So every sim has their own reflection probe. And so basically anything is going to reflect everything that can be seen. So even if you're inside of a building and you don't have a reflection probe defined, then reflections inside the building are going to be reflecting things that are outside the building. And that's not logical. That's why if you look at this, there's so much stuff in here, because it's the stuff inside the building, it's the stuff through the walls, on the other side of the building, all the way halfway across the sim are being reflected here. So I can create a reflection probe, which is just an object. So if we're going to do that, we can do, there's spherical or cube, but for mirrors, they only work with cubes. It automatically changes it to a cube, so it doesn't matter. So we'll just use a cube. So we're going to drop a cube in here. Now for normal reflection probes, you actually stand inside the reflection probe, which is, we've never really done that before with anything in Second Life. You never build an object that you're going to go stand inside of, right? Because the surfaces is where all the textures are. And so if you're inside it, you don't see the textures, right? So it's kind of weird. Something new, something different we've never done before. So let's just stretch this bigger than the space that we want to be in. So we want to make it so really big so that we're inside it. And you could align it to your walls. Okay. I'm inside there. You can't see me, right? Because it's not a reflection probe. It's a cube. So how do you make it a reflection probe? Well, you go to features, and it's just like you have light. Well, down here, there's a new thing called reflection probe. Just click that, and now it turned it into a reflection probe. So it's no longer a physical object. It's transparent. In fact, you can't touch it or play with it unless you turn on a couple of options up here. Now they've moved one of them here, the select reflection probe. That actually allows you to select it. See, but I don't see it, so I can't select it because it's, well, how do I do that? So you have to go to build, options, show reflection probe volumes. Now I can see it. And if you go to build, options, select reflection probes, it actually lets you select it. So now I can actually select the reflection probe. So that you have to turn those two things on to be able to work with the reflection probes. And when you're done working with them, you can turn it back off, right? Okay, so let's see what it looks like inside here. So I'm going to cam inside. Oh, so now it looks different, right? Looks completely different. Just because I put it inside of a reflection probe. That made the surface of this appear mirror-like. And we call this a pseudo mirror. So it kind of looks like a mirror, but where am I? I'm not in there. Well, because there's a couple reasons why. So let's look at the options on a reflection probe. So the first option is whether you want a box or a sphere. So this one's a box. Second one is, do you want this to be dynamic? And if you want to reflect avatars, it needs to be dynamic. So by checking that, you will actually be able to see avatars' reflections some of the time. But you notice it didn't really help, right? Well, this would give you, it gives you some of the ability, and you can reflect it. So on some of my furniture that I have reflections on it, and I turn on the dynamic, you can actually see the avatar reflected off of it. But in order to see mirrors, you have to do something different. So this is not the kind of reflection probe I want to use for a mirror. So I'm going to take this reflection probe, make sure I actually have the reflection probe. Yep, okay. and delete it. Boom, it's gone. That's a spatial reflection probe. That's what you do for a room or a building or a club or a space that you want to have really nice reflections. You build one of those and you put it in there, and they can overlap, and that's okay. And so I'm using a lot of those today. People are using them a lot. So, but this is what it looks like without a reflection probe. Now, let's talk about mirrors. So one of the things you have to do is you have to go into your controls settings on your graphics, and you have to enable mirrors. So right now I have it disabled because it takes up a lot of resources. You notice I'm only getting 13 frames a second right now, right? I'm in Firestorm. If I was in Alchemy, I'd be getting about 30 frames a second right now. So okay, so you go down to your graphics. I'm in Ultra. Let's turn on mirrors. I'm also going to turn on screen space reflections. Turn on mirrors. And then you have two new parameters down here that just appeared. Let's look at how do you want reflections to be done. So I want reflection detail to be static and dynamic. That's less resource intensive. You could put it to real time, but then it's really going to suck up your resources. Sorry about that. I'm expecting a package to be delivered, so I got my phone up loud just in case, but that wasn't the package. All right, so static and dynamic is less resource intensive than doing real time. Next one is reflection coverage. I want the full scene. You need that on full scene. Point lighting, I don't care about that. So mirror resolution, this is where you want to have, this is particularly about mirrors. So I want the mirror resolution to be as high as my computer can handle it. And the higher the resolution, the clearer the image in the mirror. So for this purposes, I want you to see really, really clear mirrors. So I'm going to set it to 2048. And then the next one is mirror update rate. And so this is how many frames do you actually see the mirror change. And so if you put it on every fourth frame, it's going to be kind of choppy. So you'll see jerkiness in your reflection. So for this purpose, I want you to see it really well. So I'm going to set it to every frame. Okay. Once you have those settings done, you can hit OK. And now when I do a reflection probe, I get extra options. So let's go ahead and create another reflection probe. We're going to do another one. But this time we're going to build the reflection probe for the mirror. And so I actually want it to be just a little bit larger than the mirror, because we're not going to stand inside it. Reflection probes for the, see, this already looks better. You can see my reflection a little bit in there, right? Even without the reflection probe, just by turning things on. Screen space reflections lets me get some of that. And then the other stuff helps. All right, so we're going to make this a little bit bigger than my mirror. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. If I get to the end. And then a bit taller than my mirror. And then what you do is you just put it around your mirror. Get out of my way, wall. I'm just going to pull that back like this. So it's completely enclosing my mirror. And then I'm going to tell you this is wrong. So it's not going to work, but I'm going to show you why it doesn't work. Because this is a common mistake. So go to Feature, turn on Reflection Probe, and this time select Box. But you notice there's a new panel down here that says static. Well, we don't want it to be static. We can do dynamic, which will reflect people a little bit. But we want mirror. And mirror environment means it reflects everything but people, and you want mirror with everything, so that includes people. Okay? And these you don't really care about. Now, it looks like that. I can kind of see a reflection, and then if I move, I get this kind of weird line down the middle, and it doesn't look right. So you'll see this all the time. You'll go, why isn't my mirror not working? Why does my mirror look like this? This is not right. It's not right. Because mirrors only reflect out of one face. And it's not the face that is forward by default. It's the top. So see the blue axis here? And the blue arrow pointing up? That face is the face that actually has the reflection function. And so you need to rotate it so that that face comes down and is pointing in the direction you want the reflection to go. So I want the light to shoot out where this green arrow is pointing now. So I have to rotate and pull down so that the blue, but see, it changes. I noticed on another viewer, it didn't do this, but yeah. So now the blue's pointing that way. But anyway, this is the face that you want. And so now we just got to resize this to, again, be bigger than our mirror. Slightly bigger than the mirror. But it doesn't have to be that big. This way, just come down back here. Pull this to the thing. It's a little bit bigger, right? And I still don't see anything. Well, there's one more gotcha. And that is, you need the center of my probe to be in front of the edge of the mirror. So if they're perfectly lined up, it may or may not work right. You want it to be slightly in front. So kind of like that. And there we have it. Now, I still see the reflection probe. Is it not big enough? It is. I still see the reflection probe, and I don't want to see the reflection probe. So you just have to turn those features back off. So do build, options, select reflection probe, and build, options, show reflection probe volumes. And now it's gone. And there I have a mirror. Ta-da! So that's the two things. Well, three things. You need a box. Okay, four things. You need a box. It needs to be slightly larger than the mirror. And you need to rotate it so that the top comes down and is pointing in the direction that you want the light from the mirror to reflect in. And then the center of the reflection probe needs to be slightly in front of the center or the surface of your mirror that's going to be reflected. And there it is. You now have a mirror. So you can actually link those together, and that's what you need to do, because otherwise it's not going to work. So to link them together, you got to go back and turn them back on just for a second. Okay, select the reflection probe, cam inside, select the mirror, and link. And then you can turn the reflection probe back off in your build options, select reflection probe, build options, show reflection probe. And now we have a wall size mirror. Ta-da! And as I walk across it, you see me. And I can go all the way up to it, and it's physical, so I can't get through it, right? And I can cam up to it. Right? So that's what it looks like when you have 2048 in every frame. So let's change those parameters, and I'll show you how it degrades. So if you go back over here to your graphics settings and do every fourth frame, and then watch when I move. See, it's more jerky, right? But if you're doing static pictures, you can do that. That's fine. And then if we take the resolution down to 256, you can see it's really blurry, right? So the best is 2048 in every frame. Okay, and right now I'm getting 12 frames per second. So it doesn't have a huge impact on frames per second to me. Other people say it kills their frames per second. I don't know. I was getting 13, 14 frames a second standing here. Now I'm getting 9 to 10 to 11. So it's like 2 or 3 frames per second that it affected me. Anyway, that's how to get a mirror. Now you'll notice there's some other things, like based on the size of the box, you may get, if you make the box too small, you'll get white fuzzy haze around the edges like this. By making it bigger than the mirror, that white fuzzy haze is pushed out beyond the size of the mirror, the edges of the mirror. So you get clean, crisp line all the way out to the edges. So that's another thing you might see if you go, oh, why is my mirror fuzzy around the edges? Well, make your reflection probe bigger, and you'll see that as you make it bigger, that white fuzzy haze just kind of moves out to the sides and is gone. You can also adjust the size of the reflection probe a little bit, will affect the size of the image in there, but that's generally That's generally it. And this is what I do. This is how I make my mirrors. This is what I've done. So it's pretty simple. And that was with PBR. I could have done it with Blend Fong. If you don't want to use PBR on your materials for the surface of this. So what happens if let's edit this. I'm gonna go edit this. Select the face. That's what I'm. Okay, and so instead of Blend Fong, or sorry, instead of PBR, let's do Blend Fong. So I'm just gonna do this and pick none. So now I don't have any PBR material on there, right? So let's go to Blend Fong. Make sure that face is selected, and then remember I told you I have that white. Let's do that. I'm gonna take my, where am I at? Pick texture. White 2048. I don't know. Which one am I doing? Must be this one. There it is. So I put that in my specular and then crank both of these up to 255. Or the maximum, whatever the maximum is. Whee! It should be 255. 255. 255. And there you go. So now I have a mirror done with Blend Fong, not PBR. There's no PBR material on this. That is a Blend Fong material. And I have a perfect mirror. All right, well, that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Bandor Tyrell. My SL name is Bandor Benningborough. You can find me online almost all the time. If you like this video, please make sure you like it. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell if you want to know when I put out new videos. I don't put them out that often, but when I do, you want to know about it because you can learn how to do stuff like this. Anyway, I will talk to you guys in world. See you soon, and let's all get these mirrors going.